right, welcome everybody to Spitball and Sports Podcast. I got so many podcasts going that I almost say all these different names. But anyways, welcome to this edition of Spitball and Sports Podcast. Scott, you know Scott, our co-host. He is at a play. He went to a Broadway show.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Scott going to Broadway, going to see Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. But anyhow, I love talking hockey, and I have found somebody who loves hockey, and he loves it a lot. And not only does he do that, he's also a writer for Full Press Hockey. He's a contributor to NHL Rumors.com. He is Jim Biringer. Here he is, my friend Jim.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Oh, thanks for being here. Last name, is it right, Biringer?
Got it. You got
it. Good. Very good, man. So, like I said, thanks for being here with me. I love talking hockey. Perfect guy to talk to. And I want to ask you a question right off the bat. McDavid hit 60. Is he going to get 70?
I don't think so. I don't think he's going to get 70. I don't think so. Just the runway, the number of games left, unless he averages 2 goals a game, which I know he can do, that's going to be tough down the stretch. I know the Oilers need like every point possible, and he's going to be a big contributor to that. I just don't think he did. I think he gets 65, though. I think he's 65. I think that's where he ends up.
Yeah, I kind of off air, we were talking for a second, and you're right. He dominates like no one else in any sport.
Oh, he's the best player in any sport, best player in the NHL right now. His peers even said so. The NHLPA player poll came out. They said he was the best player in the game right now. Obviously, Sidney Crosby, most complete player. But Connor McDavid, I say this everywhere. He should unanimously win the Hart Trophy. And if somebody doesn't vote for him, your ballot should be put on Twitter and you should be shamed. Because this guy is the best player in the world, the Hart Trophy, MVP. He's going to win all the major awards this year.
Do you think they tried to fix the goaltending with Jack Campbell from the Leafs, and Jack's had a horrible year, unfortunately for him. They're going to play the Kings, I think. Oh, most likely the Kings. Do you what do you think? Are they I don't know, man. They're weird. They kind of remind me of the Maple Leafs a little bit. Do you think they can do anything, make any type of noise in the West?
I mean, expectations for that team are high because they went to the conference final last year. They lost to Colorado. I think if they had better goaltending last year, I think they might have got through because McDavid and Draisaitl did everything in their power. And they have more depth this year, plus Matthias Ekholm on the back end. I think if they can get their goaltending situated, if Jack Campbell can turn it around somehow and they play a little bit better defensively, I think the Oilers can make some noise. But LA, they're tough out. I mean, they've got better with they traded for Gavrikov from Columbus. They got Korpisalo. That team is very complete. I like what they're doing there. It's going to be a fun first-round matchup.
Yeah, it is. Are you surprised as I am about Calgary? Geez, I thought they were going to be much. They're sitting pretty. What are they? They're about 6 points back. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I mean, I've been waiting all season for the Calgary Flames to be more consistent. Everybody, again, it's kind of hard to play fantasy hockey in the NHL. You plug and play pieces into video games and everything works. Huberdeau and Weegar, they're great additions, but Huberdeau needs somebody else. You lose Matthew Tkachuk, you lose Johnny Gaudreau. I mean, that team was fast. They played with so much pace last year. Mangiapane's not a 35-goal scorer. Elias Lindholm obviously is not a 40-goal scorer, but consistently they just haven't been able to put it together. They've lost some games they should have won. Again, another team, Alberta teams in goaltending. I don't know what it is. Dan Vladar, Jacob Markstrom. I mean, if Markstrom could get it together somehow and this team gets in, the Flames are dangerous because they're built for the playoffs because they remind me of those LA Kings teams that won the Stanley Cup, but they haven't shown me anything.
Markstrom, my God, he was up for the Vezina last year, and this has just been I thought Jack Campbell was bad. He wasn't as bad. He ain't as bad as Campbell. I mean, Campbell that's been his. I mean, I don't even know if his save percentage is .870. I mean, it's really been rough for him. I feel bad because he takes things very personally, Campbell, and it's there was a problem in Toronto. He lost a game. He apologized for 48 hours. But anyhow, what about Vegas? Who in the West is it Vegas? Would you say, are they the top? Are they, in your mind, the best team in the West?
No, I'm actually going to say Colorado
Okay.
because they're getting healthier. They're still dealing with injuries, but that team they're the defending Stanley Cup champions. And I said it in the East last years, and I'll say it again this year. Until somebody beats Tampa in the East, you could, obviously it's different with Boston. We'll get to it later, but in the West, Colorado's the defending Stanley Cup champions. Until somebody beats them, they're a dangerous team because they know what it takes to win in the playoffs. And I think they have a better goaltender this year than they did last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you about one other team in the West, and it's Winnipeg. They sit in the final spot. They're about five points up on Nashville. They're another one that could be dangerous.
Yeah, I've seen Winnipeg firsthand a couple times this year, actually. When they came out east for their New York swing, I saw them play New Jersey, and I saw them play the Rangers. When Connor Hellenbuck's on his game, he's the best goalie, if not one of the best goalies in the world, because he single-handedly beat the Rangers. Yeah, Kyle Connor, Dubois stepped up, scored goals when they needed him to, but the Rangers peppered the Jets in that first period back in February. They had like 25 shots in the first period. If any of those pucks go in the net, the Jets aren't winning that game. And yeah, Winnipeg's got a good team. And, I was, talking with some people. This is a pivotal season for the Jets because of Pierre-Luc Dubois. Rumors are he wants to go to Montreal. If he leaves, does Mark Scheifele leave? What does that mean for Mark? What does that mean for Connor Hellebuck? What does that mean for a bunch of other guys on that team? So this is crucial for them if they get in the playoffs. I think everything rides on them making the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Yeah, no doubt about it. And they are, like I said, they're 5 points out of Nashville. Nashville's got like 3 games in hand or something. So I don't know. They're better. I could see them knocking someone out. I could see them knocking Dallas out or something in the first round. It wouldn't shock me.
No, we saw it last year. Dallas, yeah. Ottinger comes in, almost single-handedly beat the Flames in the first round of playoffs last year. Anything's happening because everybody's reset at zero. You mentioned Vegas before. I think, be honest, look out for that team, though, because if Quick gets hot, we've seen what he can do in the playoffs. That team, look, I'm never going to count Vegas out. Bruce Cassidy, great coach. I'm not going to count that team out either. It's just, it all depends on who they match up with. Look, Seattle's beating up on, as we record right now, they're beating up on Nashville. I just don't think Nashville has what it takes to get in. There's just something about that team. I think Winnipeg finds a way. I think they just find a way.
What I would love is that Vegas LA matchup. To watch Quick, that would be great if it could happen.
I want that so badly.
Yeah.
Like you pray to the hockey gods for certain matchups. That one you pray for the hockey gods for.
Oh my God, the hockey gods have screwed me. They don't like me. They have really put a beating to me for a lot.
Yeah,
that's suffering, man. All right, so I'm with Jim Biringer. He's a writer for Full Press Hockey, contributor at NHLRumors.com, and I'm so happy he's here with us. I want to go to the East real quick too. Is Boston? Boston's got 117 points. I think they beat Tampa today. They beat Tampa. There's something weird about them, and then I'm gonna get your opinion. Allmark, I know he's incredible, having an incredible year. He doesn't have much playoff really good experience. I don't know why it is that I don't feel like they're as unbeatable as that record is. Tell me what you think of the Bruins.
Man, for me, Boston is so good, that team in the East. But, look, you saw it today. It's a tough matchup when they played. If they ever play Tampa in the playoffs, something about that team, it's always a tough matchup for them. But Allmark, like you said, limited playoff experience. They got Swayman, who also has limited playoff experience. But the playoff experience that they do have is with their big guns. It's going to be a major disappointment if this team does not get to the Stanley Cup final and win it. Let's be honest. They're the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup. And think about this. At the beginning of the year, everybody's like, Boston's just got to survive these injuries, figure out where they are in the standings, and they can go on the run. Nobody expected this out of the Boston Bruins. Krejci's back, Bergeron's back, the way Pavel Zacha's playing. David Pasternak's one of the, elite scorers in the game. Everything is just going right for them. The moves they make at the deadline, Orlov, Hathaway, Bertuzzi, everything's just working for them. The coaching change, Montgomery, guys want to play there now. Again, they just feel like they've been rejuvenated. But again, if they don't make it far, major disappointment.
Yeah, Marchand, one time he was up in Toronto. It was the last time they played in Toronto, and he took a shot at the Leafs, and he said, we take less money here to win. And I was like, well, I get it, because that guy there probably is worth, I think he's only making $6 a year. He could be making a hell of a lot more somewhere else, but geez. All right. They got to pay Pasternak finally, or did they already? I don't even know.
Yeah, they paid him already. Yeah, he's getting 11, but that was the thing with Pasternak and McAvoy. I think those two guys set the new mark. Boston, like you said, guys take less money. It's been with the Red Sox, Patriots, going all through all those New England teams.
Yeah, true.
But those guys knew what they were worth, and Boston had to step up because they were going to lose those guys. But the thing is, those two guys are going to make their money. But guess what? If Bergeron comes back, if Krejci comes back, guess what? They're going to take league minimum money because they've already made their money and they can build the team around whoever, and they're going to be fine again. I mean, guys are on manageable contracts. I think Olmark's got like 3 years left at $5 million. Like who do they have to pay? Like there's really nobody need to pay.
No, they're set up. Let's go over to the division where the next two best teams in the East are. Carolina with 100 points. Devils have 98, I believe. What do you think? What's going to go on in that over there? Rangers, of course, sitting around in the bottom of that third at 94 points. How do you feel about the Devils, Carolina? Who's going to end up winning that division?
I think Carolina is going to end up winning. It would be nice. I could come in here and say, yeah, Devils are going to win it. Be nice, but I just don't know. Carolina's got games in hand. They're figuring out ways to win. No Svechnikov for them. Andrei Svechnikov out with a torn ACL. It's a shame. They're dealing with so many injuries. Pacioretty as well. But I think they just find a way with that goaltending. Rod Brendamore, experienced coach. But New Jersey, surprise team in the East. I think people expected them to challenge for a playoff spot, but nobody expected them to have 98 points. One of the best years in franchise history. If they beat Ottawa, they had a chance to beat Buffalo on Friday night. They couldn't do it. That would have clinched a playoff spot. They beat Ottawa on Saturday night. They get it back in the playoffs. Rangers right there. I think we're looking at New Jersey. A Hudson River rivalry in the first round of the playoffs. Hey,
oh boy.
New York, what they're doing, Patty Kane's there, Tarasenko. It took them some time, to be honest, to get the puzzle pieces together too, because Gallant's like, let me put Panarin and Kane together again. It didn't work for 3 games. Okay, we're going to split those guys up, and we're going to balance out our top 6, top 12. And, Rangers are cooking right now.
Yeah. Yeah. What about before I go over to the Atlantic for Toronto Tampa talk, because they've been matched up since Thanksgiving pretty much. It hasn't. But how about the wild card? You got the Islanders, who are they look like they're going to be dangerous. Pittsburgh is kind of, in my mind, floundering around. And there's Florida sitting only 1 game back, and Washington's like 4 points back. And yeah, Florida's 1 point back. What do you think? Pittsburgh gets knocked out of this, or?
Man, the Islanders, I think, a couple weeks ago you asked me that question about the Islanders. I would have been maybe 50-50 if they make the playoffs, but they've rattled off some wins. They're picking up points. I think they're almost as much of a lock to get in as Seattle's about to get in. So I think the Islanders are safe. Now we're looking at 3 teams for 1 spot. I've not been sold on Pittsburgh all year. To me, the biggest question marks were around Boston, Washington, Pittsburgh. Were these teams ever going to fall out? Well, we know Boston's not. Pittsburgh's hanging around. Washington's hanging around. I've never been sold on Kemper. I think Colorado won last year in spite of Kemper, not because of him. The goaltending in Pittsburgh's an issue. Jari's hurt again. They never addressed it. They should have addressed it at the trade deadline. There were moves to be made, but they didn't do it. Florida, Florida was cooking. And I go back to Tuesday night against Philadelphia. Must win for Florida. I don't care. You got games in hand. That's a game you need to win if you want to make the playoffs, because you could have, the night before they beat Detroit, got into the playoff spot. Now you could have increased your lead to 3 points. Didn't do it. Pittsburgh's back in there. Yeah. I think Pittsburgh may find a way, because I think Florida's going to regret that decision. But I think if Pittsburgh gets in, it's going to be one and done for them, like it's been the last couple of years. But it's a big game tonight against Washington, because if Washington beats Pittsburgh, they're only 2 points behind them. Now it's a 3-team race for 1 spot. Yeah. No, I know. Florida, what a fall, right? Last year they were sitting kind of like Boston. They were just they were unstoppable at some points, and then of course they got knocked out early.
Let's go over to the Atlantic again. This matchup's been set probably since Canadian Thanksgiving in October. It feels like Toronto, Tampa. Toronto 95 points, Tampa with 90. I First off, let me ask you this: what's wrong with Tampa, if anything, or is it just the season too long? I don't know. What's wrong with them?
A couple of things. I mean, let's be honest. They played a lot of hockey over the last 4 seasons. Even there was COVID. Yeah, there was time off. But realistically, they've made 3 deep playoff runs with minimal rest. Now, let's look at the guys that they lost this past offseason. Andre Palat, not there anymore. He's in New Jersey. Ryan McDonough, because of the cap, has to be traded to Nashville. So, defensively, they've taken a step back because now guys that weren't playing big minutes last year, like Mikhail Sergachev, are now into Ryan McDonough's role. They got to adjust to that. Now, I think, they'll be fine once the playoffs come. But again, these teams go through these slides. This is Tampa. We're just going to get in. We don't care where we finish. We know what we have to do. But eventually, this feels out of the years that, they've made these runs, it feels like this could be the year that they get knocked out early just because things haven't looked great in the season. But then again, you have Andre Vasilevsky who steal a series for you. And, when he plays at his level, he's the best goalie in the world. But a lot of hockey, not a lot of time off, rest and recovery, and losing players. I mean, the salary cap's taking a toll on this Tampa Bay Lightning team.
Yeah. Yeah, Palat over there, that was a big loss, I guess, too. I know McDonough, but Palat was, it's a huge loss. Although they do have the great Nick Paul, because I'll tell you, last year he single-handedly knocked the Leafs out in Game 7. Let's go to them, the Maple Leafs. Forever and ever and ever, it's going to be a goal. Since Ed Belfour, it's been an issue for goaltending. You never know what's going to happen. Samsonov is gone right now with the birth of his child. Matt Murray played well the other night. Who was it? Against Florida? Mm-hmm. He played well. Now they play Carolina tonight, Nashville tomorrow. So we'll see somebody, probably Wall. What do you think? The Leafs did a lot at the deadline. I think they're playing games weirdly lately. By the way, they play 7 defensemen a lot. It's almost like they're really mixing and matching everything, and it's almost feeling like it's kind of crazy. It almost has a preseason feeling to it, with as much craziness as they do. Your thoughts on the Leafs?
Look, I liked what the Leafs did at the deadline. I mean, maybe they did too much at the deadline, but I really like the pieces that they added. Obviously, the loss of Ryan O'Reilly right now, broken finger. Thought that was a great addition. Nola Chari, that's huge. Lafferty, McCabe. I like that they bolstered their defense. I really did. I like the guys that they brought in. Goaltending again, Samsonov, Murray. What Murray are you gonna get? I've liked his game this year, but again, that's always going to be the big question mark for the Leafs. The tinkering the lines the last couple of games. How much tinkering can you do before you get into the playoffs? You really want to be playing well going into the playoffs. You really want to have everything set in stone. This 11-7 stuff, Tampa started this thing. I really like the 12-6 thing because you get more flow to the game. But it's to me, and I don't know if you've said this on your podcast before, but to me, a lot of these moves felt not like desperation, but Kyle Dubas knows his job's on the line this year with the moves that he makes, all in at the deadline, addressing areas of need.
You want to talk about a huge year. This is an Austin Matthews year. This is big. They got to move on. I mean, because then next year they got to, he's up. He's up, and I don't know. It's William Nylander. He has been he's having a great year, but he was on the third line the other night. He's been moved. I don't know. It's weird what they do with him. But yeah, the Leafs are. Here's the thing with me being a long-time Leaf fan, as my viewers know too. I won't believe it till I see it. You know what I mean? Until the body is proved, the dead body's brought in of Tampa, I don't believe that they can beat them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, look, the Leafs can pump 6 in 3 games on Vasilevsky, and Vasilevsky can win 4 games and the series is over like that. I mean, I think if you talk to some people, you feel like this could be the year. But then again, it was the year against Montreal. Everything lined up in that COVID bubble, and all they needed was 1 goal in overtime, and that was it. Yeah. That's all they needed, and then we're moving on to the second round. But to me, look, when they get to the playoffs, guys got to step up big time. Marner can't be MIA for 3 games.
Right.
Matthews, I mean, I'm going to give Matthews, I think Matthews has done his part in the playoffs. He probably can do more, but I'm not going to like start throwing stones at him. But Marner, Nylander, Tavares, those guys, and now when Ryan O'Reilly comes back, I think that's going to be huge because this Leafs team didn't have those kind of guys that have made deep playoff runs in the room to know how to handle adversity. You get a guy like Ryan O'Reilly back in the lineup for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Hey, you're down 2-1 to Tampa, or you're down in a game that you need to win. He's going to know what to do in that locker room, get those guys riled up, keep things calm, because I think that's the big factor for the Leafs.
Yeah, it definitely has been. And I think O'Reilly, hopefully, I'm hoping he plays third line center or whatever you want, second line, whatever you want to do. And because that'll be good against Tampa to have that matchup. One thing real fast on Tavares, I want to get your ideas on him. He still plays well, but I feel like we're seeing the end.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're seeing the end. I mean, look, he's still pumping in the goals. He's putting the assists out there. But, it was weird because when they brought in O'Reilly, I think Tavares was shifted around. Like they were moving guys around, to play wing. But I liked where they put O'Reilly originally. And, things seem to be clicking. But all the moves they made at the deadline were to counter Tampa's third and fourth line. Obviously, that like you said, the matchup we knew since pretty much October. I mean, there was no way around it.
And the Leafs are hoping for Matthew Nyes to show up and do something, maybe, possibly. I don't know. That's an interesting. I want to ask you about him. Mm-hmm. What do you think about guys like that? I mean, they're going to Minnesota beat Canisius. It was so close. I was watching them in that game. They're lucky. It was there was a 5-minute penalty that kind of killed Canisius. But Matthew Nyes, does he have an opportunity? I mean, he comes in, he'll play about 6 games. Can you see that happening, that he'd be on a playoff roster?
I think if they bring him in, then maybe he might be a black ace. Or if, again, it's so hard with these college guys coming in. They drafted him well. He was one of those guys that they didn't want to move. And, it's going to be tough because he's not there now playing down the stretch. And if he comes in, he's going to take somebody's roster spot away. But I feel like the Leafs bottom 6 is pretty good right now, the way they brought in Achari and Lafferty and guys like that. I mean, he's going to fit in, but he's not going to play where he needs to be playing to be effective. And that's always been my issue with teams. And when they bring these young guys in and draft them so high, they're like, oh, well, they're not doing nothing. Well, yeah, because you can't be playing a guy who's a top 6 forward in college on the third and fourth line and expect him to do something in 6 minutes. Like, that's not going to happen. So I think it might be best for him just to watch, see what it's all about, and then get ready to take over next year.
Before I put you on the spot, and I got to put you on the spot for some predictions here shortly, but I want to ask you one question before I got to let you go too. Keep you all Saturday. Connor Bedard, I want to ask you about him.
Ooh.
Is he the next one in your mind? What you've seen or what you've heard?
I mean, I've watched the World Juniors this year, and I've watched a lot of games this year of Bedard. I mean, I think this kid's the real deal. I think he's that next guy. Like, you had the Crosby, Ovechkin, and you had Matthews, McDavid. McDavid, obviously, we know. I think Bedard's it. You talk about franchise or, elite guys, generational talent. I think Bedard's that generational talent. I think a lot of guys came before him were elite or franchise guys. This guy's a generational talent. McDavid wasn't even doing what he was doing at the World Juniors and everything. But I think Bedard's that good, and I think once he comes in the league, wherever he goes, he's gonna make an impact right away.
Man, I hope he don't go to Arizona.
No, I hope not. No, he needs. For him, I don't care where he goes. People are like, oh, he shouldn't go to Vancouver or anything. I think he would thrive in the pressure. I think he's thrived wherever he's gonna. I think he's gonna thrive in that Canadian city. To be honest, I think it would be good for him to be in a Canadian city like McDavid.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with that too. All right, I want to keep you too much longer. I want to get some predictions though. Let's stay in the West. Your mind, I want to know, who do you think comes out of the West? Or 2 teams that maybe end up in the conference final, whatever, something like that.
I think, it feels like, to me, I think Colorado's going to do it. I think they're going to get back. I think they're going to find a way. But don't be surprised if Pete DeBoer's Magic in Dallas gets a team back to a Stanley Cup final because he has that somehow in a first year of coaching a team, he gets a team to a Stanley Cup final or a conference final. Like he has that MO. He did it with the Sharks, the Devils. He got Vegas to a conference. Like he knows how to push the right buttons in the playoffs. But to me, I think you got to watch out for Colorado. That team is going to be dangerous, especially when Landeskog gets back. Look out. They're going to be a good team. So I think those are some. I think whoever comes out of the West might come out of the Central. To be honest.
Now let's go to the East, and I'm gonna ask this one. Take Boston out.
Okay.
Minus Boston. Who can do it? Who do you think is going to be there? And then obviously would be matching up against Boston possibly.
The toughest matchup right now for New Jersey is going to be the Rangers. But if they can get by the Rangers. Look out. New Jersey can make noise. New Jersey's going to make some noise. I know they have an unproven goaltender in the playoffs, Vanacek. A lot of guys have, but they brought in Palat and Hala and Hamilton and guys like that and Meyer for playoff experience. Look out if this team gets going. If they can get by New York, that's adversity. I think they're going to be a good team. And, I know people in the region may not want to hear this, but Tampa – if they can get through that first round, you know what they can do.
Yeah. If they get by, I feel that way about both teams. Tampa because of what they are and what they've proven. Toronto just like, if they ever put anyone away, maybe something happens, but it's so.
I agree with that.
Buffalo Bills of hockey, I feel like the Maple Leafs.
I agree with that 100%. I agree with Toronto. If they can find a way to just like put the fork in somebody and just end it, like we saw with Vancouver in 2011. Once they exercised their demons, they were just a different team until they got to the Stanley Cup final. If Toronto can exercise some demons in the first round, look out. Like really look out for this team.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you would say in your mind, you envision a Boston, Colorado or a Boston, Dallas Stanley Cup?
I think Boston, Colorado, to be honest. I think that's a good matchup.
The Devils really, I think, though, with Meyer and all that, they talk about getting heavy. I mean, they're a tough team that would be interesting if you got them to play Boston in a conference final. I think that'd be a very interesting matchup because I'm not sold. And I know I know I don't like the Bruins. All right, everyone. But there's something about Allmark. I got to see it. I don't know. I remember, I'm in Buffalo. So I saw him and I never understood him. I mean, and then this is something, it's almost like God, I don't know, but maybe I'm nuts, but I could just have a feeling.
Yeah. I mean, look, New Jersey, they got bigger, Timo Meier, the power forward that they wanted. Defensively, they're a lot better. They can move the puck. They're a really, really good team. I mean, if you look at their matchups against Boston, they play them really tight. It's usually a third period where they fade because just Boston knows how to just get it done. But New Jersey always plays them close. So it could be, I mean, if they can get to a conference final against Boston, and, look, obviously, the players that were there in the past are not there anymore, but the Devils are 3-0 against the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So
let me tell you.
I'm sorry, I take that back. 3-1 in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I really think they're going to handle the Rangers. I don't know why. I think the Devils are I just think, I don't know. I don't see the Rangers being, they're good. They're very good at goaltending, of course, but I don't know, man. The Devils are big and they're strong. You could see it when they played Toronto. I mean, when Meyer gets going, I didn't realize how good he is because he played in San Jose. You really don't see a lot of it. He's a machine. No. He's a big kid who is, he's a machine.
He is a machine, and he's getting cooking right now because they adjusted the power play a little bit, put him on that one-timer spot. Now he's scoring goals. He's coming up with big goals in the third period for this team. He's just giving him a different element. Plus the chemistry with Nico Hischier. Those guys have played together, on the Swiss national team in these world championships. So there's chemistry there, and it's coming back. I mean, it's going to take some time, but you know what? He's making an impact right now, and he's making other guys better. And that's what you wanted, and that's what the Devils went out and got him.
Jim, I'm going to let you go because I know it's Saturday, and I keep everyone longer than I say. I said 20 minutes. It's 30 minutes. I'm going to reach back out to you I know Fridays are tough, but we can do this again, especially during maybe the middle as the playoffs move on, if you would.
Absolutely. I'd love to come back. I love talking hockey. John, this has been great. You know, the back
Thank
and
you.
forth has been awesome.
Good. Jim, I'm going to be calling you. I'll be talking to you. I'm going to want you back for sure.
Sounds good, man. I can't wait.
All right. Take care, buddy. Have a good weekend.
You too. Take it easy.
That was Jim Biringer of Full Press Hockey. He's a writer. He's a contributor to NHLrumors.com. He found out he also likes pro wrestling, so that's interesting for Falls Count Anywhere. And an all-around nice guy. Think about that. There's a guy who I just happened to meet on Twitter, and that's why I like the internet. I hate the internet and I like the internet. What a you know what I mean? It's like it's really is like that.
Yeah.
Because that's great. I mean,
Right.
Look how great look at that guy.
Yeah.
Just reached out to me. He didn't know me from anything. So, anyways, that's Jim Biringer. Check him out at Full Press Hockey. Also on Twitter, you can find him. NHLrumors.com. All right. Well, everybody, I'm gonna have to say we're gonna take off. And I thank Jim for being with us. And we'll be back again on Friday, of course, when Scott will be back from the he'll be back from Broadway.
Yeah. He's got pictures online.
Yeah, he's cultured. That's going to
Yeah.
be fun. That'll be interesting to hear from him. Next week, of course, he'll be with us, and see you guys then. Take care, everyone.